Hello, my beautiful beings. Soul family. How are you all? So I'm here at the altar today. We've got some beautiful flowers there as well. So I was going to come on camera today, but I'm noticing a lot of shifts in my consciousness, and one of the things I want to talk today about is thoughts and judgments. And yeah, I'm noticing another cycle of that in myself. There are things coming up around my appearance, my age, the cycles, the seasons, the shape shifting that happens through the feminine form. And I have an old pattern of hiding when I get a contraction and I feel unsure of myself. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. I do believe that it's good to go into hermit mode sometimes, but then there's a time where one of my mentors describes it as the swampy feminine, where we get a bit too comfortable. But then at the same time, I'm just allowing, I'm noticing that with these consciousness streams and this new awareness that's coming through at the moment, there's a lot of creative energy and momentum with it. But it can be a bit overwhelming for the physical body. I'm finding that I need to rest a lot. And just noticing the thought patterns that go around that, right? And this is really what I want to talk about today, because it's all about our mind. And I've been focusing on this, saying this, intuiting this for a long time, because I personally have found that there is no way around what we tell ourselves in our head. In other words, we can expand, heal, grow, achieve, vision, dream as much as we want, but if we can't allow ourselves to be the person who actually lives that and takes the actions, then it's just always going to be a dream, right? I just want to start off today because while I was kind of pondering this transmission as well, about the thoughts and what our mind does in the moments where we're facing an unknown is the essential quality, right? So I'm pondering all of this, but I'm also reading today, and I want to read you it's a chapter, but it's a very short one. It's barely over a page long. And I'm sharing some wisdom from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, some excerpts there, and a piece around judgment. It's called The Power to Judge. And I will probably I'll put it in the comments, but it's this book here from Megan Watterson. So if you feel called to receive, this is not a long piece, but I'm just going to read you this to open up a discussion on the mind and just to open the field with it, really. Because in these conversations, and one of the aims, one of the purposes that my medicine has is to dismantle the old structures. And vibrationally, fear is the energy that's anchoring all of it in. So the Power to Judge opens with a quote from the Mary Magdalene Gospel. I think it's from chapter 9, verses 8 to 13. But the quote, "The soul came to the third power, which is called ignorance. It examined the soul closely, saying, 'Where are you going? You are bound by wickedness.' And the soul said, 'Why do you judge me, since I have not passed judgment?'" In the Gospel of Mary, ignorance calls the soul bound by wickedness, which always makes me laugh. It's what makes ignorant ignorant. It calls out in others what it can't see in itself. Ignorance is the power or the frame of mind we all enter into when we have so aligned with the ego that we think we are in a place to judge. And most often, if we are judging someone else, we are doing a number on ourselves also. We're quietly pouring corrosives into our heart with words that judge where we are on this path that leads back to the heart. Another word for ignorance is unconsciousness. And this is what can be so tricky about ignorance. We are unaware, unconscious of what we are doing when we judge others and ourselves. And the more we do it, the more it clings to us. Judge and we are judged. The canonical Gospels emphasize the importance of releasing judgment. In Luke chapter 6 verse 37, do not judge and you will not be judged. Do not condemn and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. And in Matthew 7 verses 1 to 2, do not judge and you will not be judged. For just as you judge others, you will yourselves be judged. And the standard that you use will be used for you. And in the Gospel of Mary, the soul makes clear that judgment is the only real obstacle that keeps us from a return to consciousness, to love. The soul continues to move through these powers or to face these inner demons by refusing to judge. The soul refuses to pass judgment, because judgment is what binds us then to that power, that demon, that thought, or that fear. Why does this matter and how is it relevant to you? It matters because we oppress ourselves, or we continue the work of the oppressor, if we've been terrorized or traumatized into silence. We silence ourselves from within before we even dare to speak. And there's no judgment for how long each of us needs to stay silent. It's taken me years to write about Mary Magdalene because I constantly judged everything I wrote as not good enough. This power to judge keeps us in our place, keeps us small and bottled up, keeps us contained, restricted to the same pathways that have existed before. This is what silences us from within us. This power to judge, if it remains unrecognized, is what keeps us from ever really expressing the truth of who we are. The power to judge that keeps us in our place, right? Keeps us small, keeps us bottled up. These patterns that Megan's talking about in this chapter are mental patterns. The voice, what silences us, is within us. You know, this is why a core purpose of the mind medicine and practices is releasing judgment, bringing consciousness to where we judge ourselves so that we can then dismantle it. This is why we're here. And it's when you receive the medicine, it activates your own medicine. It's your consciousness that you bring to your own mind, your own inner voice in a different way, that dismantles what is essentially the inner patriarch, the oppressor. The energetic root or vibration of judgment is fear and comparison and all the wounded masculine energies, the inner patriarch. This is why as women it's absolutely crucial that we recognize what the beast is and that it's within us and it's up to us to dissolve, dismantle, and it's our consciousness, it's what we bring to it that is the medicine. You know, and fear itself needs to be seen for what it is, because it's very subtle, it's sneaky, it's intrusive, it's insidious. And it's also the frequency that anchors in the old world and is pushed on us by design. So, you know, we spoke about this before in terms of bringing that awareness in when it comes to managing and owning our energetic field. It's really our responsibility to face the fears that we have in our own consciousness head on so that we can dissolve the power that they have over us. And when we're holding unconscious vibrations, they'll all be shown through the thoughts. So the inner voice is absolutely key. We need the right formula to break the patterns of judgment. So the formula is key. And this is why the formula, the medicine, the approach, the focus, the awareness, shining the light of truth on it is key to our expansion, to our ascension, because we're essentially in chains, we're tethered until we bring new eyes, new consciousness to the thoughts that we think about ourselves. There's no way around it. There's nothing outside of ourselves. There is an energy, and the way in to taking the power that we've given away to it back for ourselves, back to use ourselves, is through the mind, through examining what the mind is telling us, how we think about ourselves, how we approach things, how we see life. What does your mind do when certain things happen in life, when you're activated, triggered, when things happen, when old stories come up, when old parts come up, when you have to meet yourself, a part of yourself that you don't like, things happening that you don't like, circumstances that you don't like, all these preferences, the reactions to them, all of our expectations, our doubts, fears, judgments, worries. They're all patterns of the mind. It's how we're choosing to perceive something based on what we've experienced, because the mind only has the past as the point of reference. When we come to expansion, we come up against limitations that we've previously placed on ourselves. And that's what will inform our next move if we don't consciously go beyond that self-concept. I just had a little pause there. My landlady's dog just flew. It's like a little pocket rocket, just flew in the room and jumped on my head. But actually it was a good moment to pause, because I often forget, like when I'm talking about the mind medicine work, the inner voice work, dismantling the old structures, just the same as when we're focusing on healing. In other words, we're focusing on what's leaving, or the past, or what's present now that we're working with, which represents the past. You know, thought loops, it's a shadow part that's speaking there. That's a voice of a shadow part, right? So it's all about the kind of old energy, if you like. But I mentioned self-concept in there, and it's really, really key to this work. In fact, I have shifted now at where I am at in my own journey to soul focus, essentially, on maintenance of my energy and who I believe myself to be. Self-concepting is crucial in this work. It's key. And we do it alongside the releasing the old, the other. You know, it's a good practice to get into, because we essentially need to build the architecture of the version of ourselves that we are becoming. In other words, say we're anxious and depressed, and we do the work around the mind to essentially heal that state of being, or to be able to shift our state of being. That is the work. The work is not to get rid of anything. We're changing our response to it. We learn how to shift our state of consciousness in a world, a moment where there are many different states of consciousness available. You know, at any one time when I'm talking, I might have other things, thoughts, different stuff going on in my awareness. I may have voices of doubt or insecurity. It's all there, it's all present. But I just don't identify with them, and I don't focus on them. I don't give them any attention. So it's not that we are eradicating anything in that way. We're becoming different in response to it. We're choosing based on, and the choice has to be made from a space where we have a choice and make one around what is true for us, what we believe to be true for us. Who do we believe ourselves to be? So self-concepting work is also a part of the mind medicine. It's part of Unbound offering, and it's a section in there where we bring in alongside the building of the architecture of the new. It's not all about the old, what's leaving. That's already done. It's yesterday, it's dead. It represents lifetimes of what has been. It needs acknowledging and witnessing and honouring. It needs accepting. And then it alchemizes or integrates, and that's the formula. But we don't need to focus on it. Far better and more enjoyable to focus on self-concepting for the person that you truly are, for the person that's been buried underneath everybody else's needs, for the person you've never really had the opportunity or given yourself permission to fully express and go for it, to the person that is basically it's you, but with your soul more present. The soul wants a seat at the table. What does that mean for you? So we have to actively build, energize, fortify, activate energetically the structure of this new version, because we need to run things through the system. In other words, energy you need to create a current. You create structures through continual focus and attention and intention and the power of heart, right? And desire. You're creating a structure, and that will serve you. That will fortify you from within. It provides, the structure itself provides a different choice that's in contrast or an alternative to that old part of you that you've been running for so long, that sabotages you, doesn't say very nice things about you, not very kind about yourself. You judge yourself, criticize yourself, full of self-doubt, self-sabotage. Okay, all of the stuff, all of the thoughts that go with that persona, with that pattern, all of the ways of being, all of the habits, all of the ways you speak to yourself that go with that. You've run that through your system and what you believe to be true from that part, from that perspective, so many times that it's created an energetic structure. It doesn't take you much to go there, and it already has. It's very emotionally charged. It's energetically charged. So unless you dismantle that and create a new structure that your consciousness can go to, like a house, to find shelter and belonging and knowing, based on the true you, based on your soul spirit, based on your full potential, your full capacity, and your pure essence, and how that wishes to express in this world. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And essentially realizing as well that once we see a certain frequency within a pattern, in other words, oh, I'm judging myself again, then it doesn't really matter what we're telling ourselves. We can recognize it for what it is. In other words, we're not identifying with what the voice is telling us. We've stopped believing that, we're a lowly piece of shit and, we don't deserve to have anything anyway, and success is for other people, and we're not capable of this and that, and maybe I don't deserve love, and all the other fucking shit things that our mind, based on past experiences, is repeatedly telling us. But it's not true. It's not true. And somewhere deep inside of yourself, you know that what voices, negative voices tell you, you know that it's not true deep down. But in that moment, if you feel like shit, you believe in them. So what do you choose to believe about yourself? Because the mind will tell all sorts of crazy fucking bullshit based on the past if you let it run away with you, because that's what it does. So this is part of the horse energy of reining in the mind, because this year, I think it's going to be really telling. If we don't have the capacity to do that, the mind's going to run riot as well, because it will just be another expression of this fiery momentum energy. But the mind is always seeking to analyze, control, logic, reason, in that way it creates a structure or boundary that separates. And it's wounded, most of humanity. These societies are functioning from wounded energy. We're not in an ascended consciousness, in mass consciousness. So you find it all around you. This is how people, the bandwidth that most people are operating in. And until we see that it's that in itself which chains and tethers humanity, then we cannot do anything about it. Everyone loves to look outside and think, what's going on out there? How can I change things out there? We do all the healing work, the external stuff, the body stuff, the physics. It's all about something outside of us. And then we do anything to run away from the sneaky little feelings that won't stop, the sinking feeling in the pit of our stomach that we can't really explain, the ways that we torture ourselves with thought loops and doubts and memories from the past, and we just can't seem to stop it, the way the mind fixates on something that doesn't feel good, the way we people please, okay, and think of ourselves as less than what we truly are. So until we address how that is manifesting in our own thoughts and our own way of being towards ourselves, it's not going to change. Nothing's coming in from outside. But, you know, part of this journey, in my opinion, part of the path is self-realization. You know, and all of these conversations, I'm a reminder, it's activating remembrance. It's nothing, it's inside of you, you remembering yourself and the power of your own consciousness. The power of your consciousness and the power of your heart. The power of your consciousness is the I am presence. It's God mind. If you believe that, then you're always going to find a way, a method, a tool to bring in and come up and over whatever your mind is telling you. If you're connected through your heart and the earth to the truth of who you are in a very physical but divine way, then it's almost impossible to have low self-worth or to be depressed for too long. We all feel things. The whole spectrum's available. Sometimes I go in and out of feelings of depression and very extreme feelings, but it's not about never feeling anything. It's about having the capacity to feel it without going into a drama about it. And then being able to alchemize any lower vibrations and shift your state. So when we become unbound in the mind, we can then shift our state and know ourselves for who we truly are. Only then do we have clear enough mind to consciously create our reality. People are trying to do that bit before they've cleared their mind, while they're still in judgment. You're just creating more of the same. We can only really create anything intentionally and from our heart when the mind is clear from bullshit and these conditioned patterns and habits and loops. All thought loops, overthinking, all of these habits, they're OCD. People tend to think of OCD as behavioural habits. It's probably only about 20%, I reckon, of people with OCD actually like constantly clean the house and wash their hands. Most of it is mental, and that's where I was at. Most people who have OCD, it's all in their head. You'd never know it to look at them, especially high-functioning people. But it's over and over and over and over because the mind is desperate. There's a fear inside of the unknown, of letting go, of losing control. And the mind is desperately, desperately trying to control. So it's time we really saw these energies for what they are. They're wounded masculine energies. They don't have any basis on their own. Love is always the power of your heart. When you drop into that connection is always stronger than that vibrational fear. So when you see it for what it is, you can alchemize it. So don't be afraid to delve into yourself. Don't be afraid to delve into your inner voice, to the deepest parts of the caves and caverns within you, You've got to go there. There's nothing to fear there. Only you've chained yourself up there. And it's all shown through the voice of what's inside, and not just what it's saying to you, not just the content, the tone, the vibration, the frequency. If it's anything less than kindness, it needs attention. So I'm sending you so much love today. The sun's going down now. I might pop out and just, it's a beautiful sight across the Somerset Levels, the sunset. So I'm sending you so much love from this peaceful spot. Until next time, family. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Oh, and please, if you feel like these conversations would benefit, please like or share. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you. I'm sending you so much love.